And when you can't stop fast enough, if you're out in the woods, on a trail, you might come up to a new trail section and there might be a sharp turn and you need to stop faster so you don't hit the tree, so you don't blow the corner, go off an edge, or if there's another rider or machine coming around the corner, you need to stop in time. But new riders, they tend to be intimidated of the front brake because they've seen what it can do if you don't have good control, and that is flipping over the bars. And that is one of the scariest things, but they make the mistake because of this of only using the rear brake. And it's important to use the rear brake to have the most control, but when you're not using the front, you can't stop nearly as fast because the front brake is generally 80 to 90% of your braking power. Why? Well, tires need weight on them to have traction. And when you start slowing down, all that weight gets transferred forward. And when you press on the rear brake, there's less weight on the rear tire. And this means that it takes less pressure for the rear wheel to lock up. And when you have to put less pressure on, that means less stopping power. And it also means that it's easier for it to lock up. And once it locks up, you're not stopping as fast. In fact, if you're going down a hill and you hit the rear brake, you might actually be sliding and increasing your speed. So how do you safely use the front brake? Well, one, when you're first learning how to ride, you want to be as gentle and as smooth as possible, at least the first few times. So just use 1 or 2 fingers, maybe one just to start out. So go accelerate in first gear and then gently press in the front brake until you start to feel it slow your bike down. And then next time, go a little bit faster, use a little bit more brake. The most critical point of using the front brake is that very initial bite of the brakes. So a lot of beginners, they make the mistake of stabbing at the brake, whether it's with 1 or all 4 fingers. And when you stab at the brake, this shocks the tire because when you don't have that weight on the tire, the rubber, it doesn't have as much traction. So this can cause the front tire to lock up and slide right out. Or if it does get traction, too much weight is going to transfer forward and you're going to go over the bars if you aren't prepared for it. So that's why you want to be very smooth when you initially press the front brake, and then you can gradually give it more braking pressure as the weight transfers onto that front tire. Because as you get more weight transferred onto the front tire, it will have more traction power, so you can give it more braking pressure. And what about using the clutch when you come to a stop? Well, if you're using a manual clutch dirt bike, you will need to pull in the clutch when you come to a stop if it's still in gear. So when I'm slowing down, I like to be in the right gear, so the right RPM for the speed that I'm going. So if I'm going 20 miles an hour in third gear and I'm slowing down to 10 miles an hour, I'll probably want to be in second gear. But that takes a little bit of time to learn what gear you need to be in. So you can simply start out with, when you're coming to a stop, just make sure you pull in the clutch before the engine RPM gets too low that it stalls. So first gear, second gear, third gear, going maybe 10-15 miles an hour. And if I'm coming to a stop, I'll ease on the front brake. The engine RPM starts getting low, so I'm going to pull the clutch in, and now I'm at a stop. So I'm still in third gear because I didn't shift down, so that's why you want to shift it back down into first gear, and then you can start moving again. Where after you practice this a lot and get a feel for it, and then when you're slowing back down, you can slow down as your mile an hour goes down, so that when you come to a stop, you pull in the clutch and you'll already be in first gear. And oh look, there's a nice Dodge Viper. So if I just stab at the brake, whoa, it's just gonna I even shocked myself there. This front brake is pretty strong. I think my rear wheel got some air, so if I would have done it harder and gone faster, I would have gone over the bars. So when you come to a stop the first time, just ease on that front brake, pull the clutch in, because if you come to a stop and you don't pull the clutch in, well, the engine's gonna stall and you're gonna be in, I don't know what gear I'm in. And a good way to know that you're in neutral is if you can roll the bike backwards or forwards at least a foot. Where if you're in gear, the rear wheel is gonna be locked up if you just roll it. And if you don't know what gear you're in, let's just go all the way up to fourth gear. So you be like, shift down. I think I'm in first now. You rock the bike, it doesn't move. I don't know. Shift it down again, you hear it click. It's still in gear. Shift it down again, still in gear. And now it won't click anymore. So that means you're in first gear. You can do that half click up. Neutral's in between first and gear on pretty much all bikes. And then if you can roll the bike, it's in neutral. All right, congrats. You're almost halfway done with this beginner series. If you haven't started from the beginning, I recommend doing that if you haven't bought your first dirt bike before and want to start out safely and on a budget. And please share this with a friend or family member so that they can do the same. And now that you know how to use the clutch, it's time to properly learn how to shift the gears up and down so that your transmission doesn't go clunk and you break things. So hit subscribe and stay tuned tomorrow for my next video, or click here if it's already out. I'm Kelly Fager from Motocross Hideout. Learn more, ride more.